Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. They call it the world's leading summit on counterterrorism. The International Institute for Counterterrorism here in Israel hosts an annual summit that brings together the world's leading authorities in the war against Islamic terrorism. Later in the program, we'll bring you a fascinating interview with the Muslim from Pakistan. At one time, he was a passionate enemy of Israel, but now has become a pro-Israel advocate. But first, we also sat down with Dr. Sebastian Gorka, the former assistant to U.S. President Donald Trump. Dr. Gorka recently resigned from his position at the White House. Here he explains why he resigned and what he believes the West needs to do to defeat Islamic terrorism. Dr. Gorka, thanks for joining us on CBN News.
My pleasure.
You're here at the IDC and they call this the World Summit on Counterterrorism. You'll be speaking later today. What's your message?
My message is two things, really. The first one is a great deal has changed in the last 7 months with the new administration in Washington. But we have to understand that catching or killing terrorists is only part of the formula. What we need to do is stop people wanting to become jihadists. And that's not a function of killing or arresting people. That's a function of destroying the ideology, delegitimizing the message of jihad. So we have to do what we did with communism. We have to focus on counter-propaganda. And my second message is one to my former colleagues inside the building. The president will be victorious when he says, I will destroy, when I will obliterate ISIS. That's not empty rhetoric, that is a promise. But we have to remember that the actions we take against Sunni terrorism should not be done in ways that profit the Shia regime of the mullahs in Iran. So I'd like to remind the policymakers that it's not just groups like Al-Qaeda or ISIS that are a problem. A nuclear-capable Iran especially is a very serious threat to the Judeo-Christian civilization.
Right. And I think President Trump and Secretary Mattis have said they wanted to be single-minded about defeating ISIS. Is that a danger if they ignore the advances that Iran is making inside Syria as we speak?
Yeah, look, I'm not worried about the president or his cabinet members not understanding the secondary and tertiary effects of defeating ISIS in Iraq or Syria. My problem is with the bureaucracy. I saw it. I was inside. I wasn't part of the National Security Council, but I went to National Security Council meetings, and I saw massive inertia inherited from the last 16 years of attitude whereby people said, well, this is how we've been doing it for almost 20 years, therefore it must be the right way of doing it. And my answer is, there's a reason why a man who has never held political office and who was never a member of the senior military ranks of the United States Armed Services is now the most powerful man in the world. We have the quintessential anti-establishment candidate as the commander-in-chief, and the bureaucracy needs to understand that.
And do you think they're getting the message eventually? You mentioned that in your letter of resignation.
Yeah, why do you think I resigned? Look, there are reasons why Steve and I thought that we could be of greater support to the president from outside the West Wing as private individuals. So I want your viewers to understand the current state of affairs inside the White House is a temporary state of affairs. The president is on message. He reached out to me the day after I resigned. He said, I'm sticking to the agenda. Can you help me from the outside? And my response to the president was and is, we will support you from the outside. And the original team or faces from the original team will continue to do that.